do we have in the room?
All of us.
Okay, I was going to say, if you don't have your hand up, please raise your hand. Because even if you've never thought of yourself as a leader before, you are on stage every day. People could be watching you, learning from you, and that makes you a leader technically. And so you never know where life's going to take you. You could end up in a leadership position, but you do not need a title to be a leader. Okay, so one of the things that's popping up in on the business media sites a lot nowadays is self-awareness. And there's a good reason for that. Does anybody know why that might be? Okay, self-aware people make better leaders. Now, think about this for a second. If you're being led by somebody who doesn't recognize how their actions and what their statements are and how their statements affect other people, how likely is it that you're going to want to continue to work for that person? They don't even know themselves. How are they supposed to know you and lead you, right? So there are different techniques and different ways that people can become more self-aware. Some people, just by natural of who they are, will dig into who they are and try to learn themselves, and that's great. It's a great start. Some people don't have that kind of foresight to start looking outward at themselves, and they can be taught that as well. Has anybody in here ever taken the Myers-Briggs assessment? Okay, quite a few. Do you remember what your letters were? Do you remember what those letters meant? Yeah. Okay, right? So if you can't really remember it for you, how are you supposed to remember it for everybody else and then apply that knowledge, right? So it's great to learn something, but if you walk out of the room and you can't apply it, you just had a really good lunch, right? So what we've actually done is we've taken a tool that was derived from the same science that Myers-Briggs came from, which tells you very accurate information about yourself. However, it's pared down into 4 colors, which 4 colors is really easy to remember. And then that will actually help you not only learn yourself, but then apply that to everybody around you. And you can pick up on tells from simple conversations so that you can know how other people think. And why is it important to know how other people think? Does everybody think like me?
No.
But we don't recognize that, right? We know that in our conscious, and we'll be like, everybody's different, we all think differently, but then you get talking to somebody and you expect they're gonna come at the same thing with the same perspective that you have. Because it's not something that we're actively looking for how other people think, because even if we were looking, how would we define that? Through color, you can. And so there are, the 4 colors are orange, green, gold, and blue. This is not something I created. I'm a facilitator of it, and there's a lot of facilitators out there. But one of the things I've done is really taken this out of just the corporate environment. It costs a lot of money to get somebody certified, and then it costs a lot of money to bring that certification to the office. So big companies would bring it in for their teams, and it is amazing for building teams. Think about this. If you know yourself, you know yourself, you know yourself, you know yourself, you're all on the same team. You know what each one of your own strengths are. You know what each one of the other person's strengths are. You can partner your strengths with the other person's weaknesses and then do more together than you could ever do apart. But if you don't know each other's strengths, this person doesn't think like me, this person doesn't think like me, I just don't get them, they say things that are weird, they say things that are feelings, you know? Right? It's real. Like, I know you're thinking about somebody that's like, man, why do they say that every time we get in the situation, right? But if you can look at their color spectrum, and we are all a spectrum, but you're going to have one color that's your brightest, and then you're going to have an influencing color that's really driving who you are and what you do, so that you can say, oh, man, that person did not mean to hurt my feelings. They're green, they come to me straight to the point, but I need a little more fluff when I'm in communication, and that bothers me. So the same thing could be true, you know, maybe oh gosh, this person was telling me everything they did their whole weekend. Tell me it was good. And let me move on, right? But you know, we all have different ways. But if you can understand that and say, okay, this person needs to do that. That's who they are. Let them do that. And when they ask how my day was, I'll tell them it was good, and we'll have the rest of the day, you know? So it's really important that we can not only know what those things are, identify and work with them. Okay, so as show of hands, I want to see, who are my list makers in here? You not only make lists, you love lists. You need lists. They drive what you do. You will actually add something to the list if you've done it, just so you can check it off. Raise your hand high. Okay, so we have like 5 hands, right? Now I want you to tell me, who are the people in here that like you really don't like change, you need to have a plan, or at least know what the plan is for you to feel comfortable in moving? Raise your hand high. Okay.
I'm in between.
You're in between? You have the influencing color. So a lot of those are going to be like your goals, your structure, your order. You don't really like to kind of get out of your element. Like give me the same thing, I know what I'm doing kind of thing. Okay, now where are my people who love change? You need change. It's part of who you are, and if you can't have it, you're going to go find change somewhere. Okay, so that's my orange people, right? And so you love fun. Fun can make something worth doing. You are also highly okay with risk.
Yeah.
Risk is actually kind of something fun, right?
Yeah.
Whereas my goals, no risk please. Make it comfortable. I want black and white. Okay, where are my connected people? You really are all about family and relationships, and my friends are my family, okay? All right? And so that's the blue. And this is where, it's really about, it's about just being part of something bigger. You have to help people. You have this desire. Like, you can't not help people, right? And you're always taking care of somebody else before you're taking care of yourself, right? And then you've got your greens, my logical people. You're gonna look at it, and if it makes sense, you're gonna do it. You like to get straight to the point. You're my big picture thinkers. Where are you? Okay. And so, as I said, each one of us is spectrum, so you might see yourself in a couple of these.
Yeah.
But there's going to be one that's really kind of going to be standing out. It's really going to be leading who you are, what you do, and then if you can then start identifying those things in other people, you can say, okay, look, I know my strengths now because I know my color spectrum. I know this is what my color spectrum entails, and then I also know my weaknesses, and that is huge. Weaknesses are not a bad thing. I believe that they're truly just an opportunity for us to partner with people who have strength in those areas. We're designed for relationship. We're not made to be an island,
Yeah.
We're here. If you guys didn't believe in relationship, you would not be here right now, right? You know it works. And so when you understand what your weaknesses are and you can pull people in on your team that are in those areas of strengths. I have this great lady I work with. She's a VP for cancer services. And she says, you know what, I hire only my opposites. Because she is that orange kind of free flyer. She's just gonna go for it, She needs those people that have the structure and that can do those administrative tasks and do them well, that can come in, because she's like, I can't sit still in my desk for 5 minutes, let alone do these things that require me to actually focus and do like tasks over and over again. She goes, so I hire them. Because together we make an amazing team. She said, but then they have to know me too. They have to realize, don't schedule a 4-hour meeting with me because I can't sit still for that long, I need to go dream. So when we understand how we fit into the picture, how our team members fit into the picture, we all come together, we can respect each other better. Okay, let me ask you, are you able to really trust somebody you don't know? Like really trust them? You don't know them? Okay. So, if you start working with people, you need to know them to feel like you can truly trust them, like they got your back, right?
Yeah.
So how do you know them? This is a great tool to be able to know them, is to learn to speak color. Then, how is unity built? Unity is built between people who trust each other. So if you want to have a united team, you're going to need to make sure that you have trust. Trust isn't something that just happens, it's something that's built. And it's built off of people when you know them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How are we on time?
Good.
All right. So essentially what it comes down to is that when you go through and you're identifying these different things, you're going to be able to pick out certain areas that bring you joy as well, because it's not just about strengths and weaknesses. And who here has things that stress them out in their current life? Okay, if you have your hand down, I need to come talk to you. So what it turns out is that most of the things that cause us stress are actually an area where our needs are not being met.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you're like, oh my gosh, I'm facing this area of stress. I need to attack that thing that's stressing me out. Well, the problem is you're attacking the symptom. And so if you attack the symptom, it's like taking a painkiller if you threw your back out. Like, that's great. It'll help you get through that moment, but you didn't fix your back, right? So what you need to do when you're feeling stressed, you need to identify, okay, I know myself, so here's what I need. And here's my pinpoint of stress. Where does that align with my needs? What need is that showing that I'm not meeting? Because once you identify that need, then if you're able to, you can actually change and get out of that area or fill that need. But if you can't change in that particular, maybe it's a particular role in your job that you need to do, you can find ways to adapt it a little bit to make it less stressful, to try to meet need in certain ways. So, for example, maybe you're a person who needs change, and you're sitting in the office, you're sitting at the same desk every day, and you're just feeling overwhelmed. But it's not like you have that much to do. You're just feeling overwhelmed. So why am I feeling the stress? Maybe you need to get up and go sit at this desk for a minute. Maybe that change of scenery is going to be just enough to kind of mix it up for you. I mean, there are little tweaks even that can make you more successful in what you do. Somebody who's on the gold side, they need structure and cleanliness and order, and if things are like all over their desk, they're going to have a hard time getting things done. They might need to say, you know what, every morning I'm going to take 5 minutes, I'm going to make everything organized and in order, then I'll start my day, and you'll be like 80%. I'm making up that percentage, by the way. Did you know like 80% of percentages are made up on the spot? And so, be so much more productive, throughout the rest of their day. And it's worth it. It's worth it. So, regardless of what team you're on, or if you work solo, you're still working with people. So even if you have an independent business and you don't work with a team, you work with your clients, you work with your customers. How much more effective can you be for your clients, your teams, your customers, if from simple conversations you can pick up on their tells, you can say, this person's blue, I need to make sure I come in and say good morning before I start my conversation. Or this person is orange, I need to tie in the fun that they're gonna have with this automobile purchase, because that's what they're after, Those kind of things that will really feed who they are, instead of just focusing on either the project or the product, right? Because we are different, but if you understand the differences in a definitive way, you can maximize it. And really what it comes down to is if you care about people, you're going to want to know them.
Yes.
So, are there questions? This is a lot. I know, you guys just you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know people were you could be defined, right? As a matter of fact, when I first took the True Colors assessment, it was with a large organization, and I was not excited about it. I was like, great, I get to take a personality assessment. Just what I want to do. I was really skeptical about things like that. I'd taken Myers-Briggs. It was great information, but it didn't do me any good. Yeah, that was cool, right? So I went to this, didn't have any expectations, took the assessment, and then they moved us to the color of our table, of each table had a color. And we started doing this interactive exercise, which is part of the workshops. And I'm sitting there at my table, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are in my head. They're answering these questions verbatim of what I'm thinking about as the answer. And I realized for the first time in my life, I'm not weird, I'm green. It's not easy being green. I don't know if you've seen Kermit, but and so, a lot of times we can feel alone in a room full of people because we don't understand where we fit, But when we can really appreciate and value what we bring to the table and who we are, and that it's okay not to have strengths in every area, because I made me for a reason, and I have a purpose. And there are things in my purpose that are going to line up with how I'm made. All of a sudden, you can let your guard down, because you know that everybody else in the room is also made with their specific purpose, and they're going to be one of these color spectrums as well. And there's going to be somebody in there that's going to be similar spectrum to you. And there's going to be plenty that aren't. But we aren't alone. We really are made with a particular design in mind, not just physically, but cognitively as well. And so remember, whenever you start to feel like you might be alone, you know what? I'm not alone. I'm just my spectrum. And I'm hoping to one day be able to have a forum to where you can connect with other people from your spectrum, or ask questions of people who aren't of your spectrum. Be like, hey, I've got this boss I'm working with who's one totally opposite. How do I approach them on this matter? Because it's not been working so far. You can ask people who are that color, and they'll be able to help you. Well, if I was the one receiving information, this is how I would be more receptive to it. And so that's really, really valuable when you can start to pull people who think like the people that you're wanting to work with. So, well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about this. It's something you can tell is very passionate and very passionate about. And so we'll talk more if you have any questions about it. But just start to think about that as you go back, like, what are the things that are my strengths? And this is going to start to help you key in on what your color spectrum may be, and it'll help you maybe decide what path you're trying to meander down as you get there. So.
Awesome.